Hey, and welcome to Unlearning Stress, the podcast where we break the rules and cycles that keep you overcommitted, overstretched, and just plain exhausted, and replace them with something better. No fluff, no guilt, just real talk, real solutions, and expert insights to help you shift the way you live. Whether you're here for the first time or you've been with me for a while, you're in the right place. I'm Mischelle O'Neill, your resident emotional wellness coach, and I'm here to help you unlearn the patterns that are wearing you down so you can live with more ease, clarity, and control. Let's get to it. There's something that I want to say out loud, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. So, listen, we're living in a time where the rules change by the hour, where what's true on Monday is denied on Wednesday, and where expectations shift without warning, and you're still expected to lead, to respond, and to show up like nothing's changed, right? Now, this is about the emotional climate that women are being asked to live in. And every day, I talk to high functioning women, teachers, mothers, leaders, entrepreneurs who are exhausted, not because they're weak or they can't handle it, not at all. Not because they're doing too little, but because they're trying to lead and to nurture, to function inside of systems that are emotionally erratic, unstable, and unclear. You don't know if your job is secure. You don't know if the curriculum would change again tomorrow. You don't know if the budget will cover what your kids need next semester. You don't know if the truth that you were told yesterday will be rewritten today. And when that is the background noise of your life, it doesn't matter how disciplined, productive, or focused you are. Your nervous system is absorbing every bit of that instability. You start hesitating on decisions that you used to make with clarity, and you start reacting instead of responding. You start questioning your own judgment, not because you've lost it, but because nothing around you feels well grounded. Look, emotional inconsistency in leadership isn't just a communication problem, it's a trauma source, it's an energy drain. And it's the reason that so many women are collapsing inside while fighting to hold everything together on the outside. That's what we're talking about today. Because if no one else is going to say it, I will. The ability to be emotionally consistent, even in the chaos, is a leadership skill, one that we need now more than ever. I need to say something that might not feel good, but you're not you're not tired from what you do. You're tired from how many versions of yourself that you have to become just to keep doing it. You're teaching and still don't know what next semester's standards will be. You're managing a team, and every week there's a new policy, a new crisis, a new urgent pivot. You're parenting and trying to hold your family steady, be that rock when the world around them is anything but steady. And in this reality, this isn't just burnout. This is erosion of your clarity. Because every time the rules change, you adjust. Every time someone else flips the script, you recenter. Every time the system shifts, you shift with it to stay calm, to keep the peace, to make it work. And in the right settings, look, don't get me wrong, those things have their place. And when I say shift with it, I want you to understand what I'm really talking about is what's called shape shifting, not adapting in a healthy way. I mean, constantly adjusting your tone, your truth, your timing, just to avoid triggering someone else. It's when you shrink in meetings so that you're not seen as too aggressive or too assertive. It's when you rewrite an email 5 times to sound less intense. Oh, you don't want to be too intense. Or it's when you start performing calm instead of being calm because the room can't handle your real energy. Who says? Girl, that's not clarity. That's self protection in disguise. And a lot of us are protecting ourselves while calling it professionalism, wondering why we're so tired. And look, we've even gotten really good at it, right? You can pivot on a dime. You can regulate like a pro. You can hold your composure through almost anything. But the part no one's talking about, all of that shape shifting, it's costing you. What is that cost? It costs you energy. It costs you clarity. It costs your ability to trust your own internal rhythm because you've spent so long dancing to someone else's chaos. Yeah, that's right. And the worst part, you think that the exhaustion is a personal weakness. You think if you were just more focused, more organized, more grateful, you wouldn't feel this way. And yeah, I got attitude. Sorry about that, but not. But you see, thinking that way, that's not true because you're not failing. You're just functioning in an emotionally inconsistent environment and calling it leadership. It's not your work ethic that's broken. It's a system that you've been expected to absorb, to interpret, to stabilize without ever losing your cool. Is that realistic? And while you're out here being everyone's anchor, being everyone's rock, no one's asking what it's costing you to hold steady in that storm that they keep creating. You know, we love, I mean, absolutely love to throw the word, words like calm, centered, stable, especially when we're talking about leadership. But let me get this straight for you. Emotional consistency isn't some optional leadership vibe. It's not optional. It's not softness. It's stability. It's safety. It's strategy. That's what emotional consistency is. And people can't think clearly, work effectively, or even feel safe to speak up when they don't know who or what they're getting from one moment to the next. And yet, in so many environments, schools, offices, homes, we're still being led by unpredictability, by reactivity, by whoever yells the loudest or changes their mind the fastest. You know what that creates? What it really creates is hyper vigilance. and people scanning the room before they speak, holding back their best ideas because today might not be the day, adapting their voice, their presence, their truth, just to keep things from falling apart. Sounds familiar? And so now let's flip that. Imagine what happens when you, as a woman of leadership, become emotionally consistent, right? When you don't just deliver calm, you are calm. Not because life isn't chaotic, but because your internal compass isn't up for grabs anymore. That's power. That's your clarity. And that's your leadership. And it doesn't mean that you don't feel, it doesn't mean that you don't get frustrated, tired, or triggered. It means you've trained yourself to respond instead of react because you know the cost of that instability and you refuse to pass that down to the people that you lead. That's leadership. It also means that you're not in the business of gaslighting yourself. You don't minimize your own overwhelm just to keep the peace. You don't force emotional gymnastics on your nervous system just to keep up an image. You ground, you name what's real, and you create a space where others can do the same. So, look, how do we lead with emotional consistency in a world that's anything but consistent? How do you show up steady when everything around you is designed to pull you off center? You don't control the storm, you anchor it in your own clarity. Why? Because you've probably gotten so used to adapting to other people's energy that you've forgotten how to protect your own. So here's where we begin. And I'm going to give you three practices. One, identify your emotional baseline. Ask yourself, what do I feel like when I'm not reacting to anyone else's urgency? When's the last time you felt like that? Not what you're projecting, not what you're performing, but you at rest. It's almost like using your what is it called? Your Fitbit or some other thing, and you look and see what your resting heart rate is. And you know when you're resting. And you can check it any time to see what's going on with you. So, what is your emotional rest baseline? And if you've been shape shifting for so long, you probably don't even know. So, good. Yeah, I said good because that's your starting point. What's your baseline? And practice number two, name the pattern that keeps knocking you off center. What's triggering you? Every woman I work with has one predictable trigger that flips her into reaction mode. One person, one trigger. You know what it is. Maybe it's being questioned. Oh, you questioning me? Maybe it's last minute changes. Say what? Maybe it's silence from people who should speak up. Oh, you gonna leave me hanging out here. Whatever it is, name it. Because when you can name it, you can interrupt it. Don't wait for the chaos. Practice your clarity now. If this happens again, how do I want to respond? What version of me will I send into that moment? Because emotional consistency isn't about being unshakable. It's about being conscious, about choosing your response from a place of power, not panic. You can't lead from clarity when your nervous system's still on high alert. And if you've been wondering why you're so tired, maybe it's not because you've been doing too much. Maybe it's because you've been doing it all from a nervous system that never feels safe. That was practice three. pre-decide your response. So today, I'm not asking you to be calmer. I'm asking you to be clear about who you are, about what you will and won't take on, and about how you lead no matter what shifts around you. I'm going to say this, and I'm probably going to say this with attitude, but I want you to hear this. And if you need to, take on that attitude. But this is your house, and you have the right to determine who or what you let in. You don't need to be louder. You don't need to be faster. You don't need to mirror the chaos just to function inside. What you need is emotional clarity. The kind that doesn't shift every time the temperature in the room does. The kind that says, I know who I am, even if no one else does today. I want you to ask yourself this week. Where in my leadership have I confused adapting with anchoring? Where have I erased myself, shrunk, softened, disappeared just to keep the peace? And what would it look like to walk with a quiet boldness instead? Because real leadership, real presence isn't about being everything for everyone. It's about being solid in who you are, even when everything else is unstable, even when the world tries to rewrite what you built, deny what you've contributed, or act like you were never there at all. This isn't about failure or incompetence. It's about how long you've had to hold steady in systems that keep shifting under your feet. And still, you had to manage to stay standing. So now you get to stop proving you have what it takes because you know that. What you can do is start deciding what's actually yours to engage. And today, I'm not asking you to be calmer. I'm asking you again to be clear about who you are, about what you will or won't carry, and about how you'll lead no matter what shifts around you. I'm going to say this again because I want you to get this. This is your house. This. And you have the right to determine who or what gets in. You aren't built to be invisible. You were made to lead without apology. And look, if this hit home, good. I want you to stay connected this week because I'm not done talking about this. I want to tell you that first, make sure that you read my article over on Substack, The End of the Jekyll and Hyde Leadership. It's the foundation for what we've been unpacking today. And then I want you to meet me live on Thursday, and I'll be popping in somewhere between 11 and 1 on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, any of those spaces for the Unlearning Break Time Live. And we're going to go deeper into this emotional residue, these environments that these environments leave behind, and how to stop carrying what was never yours. I'm not done with this yet. In the meantime, stay vigilant, protect your clarity, and remember, one more time, this is your house. You decide who and what gets in. If this episode hits home, don't just push it aside. Lean into it. Subscribe so you don't miss what's next. And connect with me on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Substack, where we go even deeper. Links will be in the comments. And if you're ready to start unlearning the patterns that keep you stuck, keep listening, because real change happens one choice at a time. I'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.